Hey guys, welcome back to Grab Your Brew. This is part two of the Easter special with my wonderful co host Leo. His links are going to be in the bio description, and this episode is about the 13-month calendar, religion, and a lot of good banter. If you have not seen part one, you do need to go ahead and listen to that first because you won't quite grab the context, I guess, but it does get a whole lot more interesting in this part. So go ahead and grab your brew as me and Leo banter. It's that constant fear of it's like a toxic relationship, isn't it? It's like bury the
Mhm.
devil you know, but that's the
Yep.
problem. The devil you
Mhm.
know. And you stay in this toxic situation because it's familiar and you're scared to make that jump of what if it's worse?
Mhm.
But at some point it's like you'll never know.
Yeah.
And life is way too short. So I am pretty much of a jump person now than I used to be. Before it was like I need to plan 20 steps ahead to plan everything down to my
Right.
grave. And now I'm like, enjoy today.
Yeah, because honestly, you can plan and plan and it's not going to go how you planned it. You can't you can't account for everyone else,
Yeah.
you know? Like you can have things that you expect, but honestly, it never is going to go that way. And that's something that I learned, and that's kind of how I live too. It's like I create like a structure, and then everything else is kind of fill in the blanks.
Mm-hmm.
Like as long as that's why I even like price like my gigs the way I do, like as long as I get my minimum that I need, which is, I factored in, okay, this amount per week means I get this amount a month, and boom, you know what I mean? I'm good to
Yeah.
go. I don't need to pester people for tips. I don't need to, you know, ask for
But you should
a
tip
lot
him,
of
guys.
yeah, I mean, I'm always down to be tipped.
Yeah.
Actually, another way you can find more information about me is through my link tree, which is linktr.ee/tip Leo. So,
Yeah,
uh,
text that to me too, because I'll put it on the screen.
yeah, yeah, no problem.
And I'll put it in the description bar.
Yeah, and so that actually has like a lot of my info about like my karaoke's as well as ways to tip me. But most importantly, though, um, going back to the music thing, because like I've been listening to a lot more Christian artists as well. Um,
Just makes you feel different, doesn't it?
well, yeah,
It's
and
hard to pinpoint the feeling, but
but I think where what I like is I I don't like I'm not a huge fan of like Christian music that I feel is like pandering. Um, like it's not really like a lot of like personal substance in the
mm-hmm.
lyrics. It's just like, "Oh Father, we praise you," and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I would
And
automatically think when I thought of
that's
Christian
what most
music.
people do. They're like, "Oh, it's the Jesus music." That's what people always say now. "It's Jesus music," like it's bad or something. And I'm just like, no. I was like, some of the best songs I've ever heard were songs written about God. There's a song by a dude, Half Alive. He made a song called "Creature," and I prefer the orchestral version, but both versions got the same lyrics. And he talks about uh, not knowing what lies ahead, but because he believes in where God is guiding him,
Yeah,
it allows him to course. He says, oh yeah, he says, his opening line is, "Look inside of me and see that I'm not afraid to walk inside the void like a kid inside a cave." And that's what he's like. The whole idea is that I'm mapping out, my path,
mm-hmm.
knowing that I'm not going to know what's next, but I know that whatever I face, God has me through it.
Yeah,
In the chorus, he says, "I am creation, both haunted and holy, made in glory. Even the depths of the night cannot blind me when you guide me." And so,
that just saying it brought me goosebumps.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
because you gotta have a strong conviction behind. Because it's like the confidence behind the
right?
lyrics.
And confidence is key in everything, honestly, but especially in your faith,
Yeah,
because people are going to challenge you. People are going to try to discredit you. They're going to try to,
especially being Christian.
yeah, like this
It's the
whole
most,
thing where people try to act like you're like less intelligent
yeah.
because you believe in God, which I think is the craziest
It's
thing.
like what's worth being an atheist and believing that you go into nothingness. Even
Yeah,
science proves that we don't go
yeah,
into nothingness.
I actually think that that's not smart to
No.
think that way. Like, I think it's not smart, and like I said before, I think it's arrogant
Yeah,
to consider that there is nothing
it
and that
really
nothing
is.
comes from nothing. I was like, when science explains that in the process there is a point of origin
Hmm.
in everything. There is a how.
Did you hear that they recently just admitted to the Big Bang Theory being the evolution biblical?
Mm-mm.
Because you know they always had the Big Bang Theory, but they never put what happened before the Big Bang.
Mhm.
I'm gonna send you the heart. I'm gonna find
Please.
and send to you because I was like, yeah, see, fuckers, he told that.
Yes.
Sorry,
Yes. Yeah.
I shouldn't be took. God knows my heart. He knows I'm working on me. I'm trying. It's when I get excited,
No.
like
No. I'm the same way.
before I would curse like every other word, but now it's
Mm.
like if I get really excited, it
Yeah.
comes out.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. No. It's like, yeah, no, because I've always see, and that's my biggest thing. Why I would tell people, like, I was like, if you look at like what the Big Bang and what the opening of the Bible is, it's the same thing.
Hmm.
I was like, why wouldn't let there be light be a giant explosion in the universe appearing? You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like,
I don't
why?
know. Maybe God being like,
Yeah, I was like,
he is
because
energy. He made energy combust into the
that's what
Big Bang
that's what I'm
Theory.
saying. So like, and these are all bodies of light. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like even matter, comes from energy.
Yeah,
And so it's like to think that that just appeared one day, all of these intricate planets with these, I was like, planets are machines.
yeah,
Planets are machines. Like the earth is a machine where all of the different processes work together to keep things healthy, to keep things like working the way they should, which is why when humans we go and we're tearing down trees and we're digging up stuff
we're
and
taking away our oxygen,
right, we're taking
basically.
away all of our resources that we actually need for the
Yeah,
world to operate properly,
yeah,
you know, for the sake of, breweries and houses that no one lives in, or no one can afford to live in,
yeah. That part more.
with the,
Well, no one can afford to live in.
yeah. So it's like, and it even goes back to, the calendar. It's like how people in power consistently try to change things for their benefit, whether it actually helps us or not. Our biggest issue is that are we entrust our progress to people who don't have our best interest in mind,
Right.
because instead of embracing all of our knowledge that we have available, we pick and
I
choose.
feel like the powers that be, as far as government, not spiritually, the government and the people at the top that make the choices.
Hmm.
We know it's above the government. Um, I feel like they're so fixated on future,
Hmm.
like AI, computer generated, the microchips, all this other stuff,
Hmm.
that they're not working towards, like you said, embracing the knowledge we do have. Like, why are we not using the tide of the oceans towards our advantage?
Right.
Why are we not thinking about compound living? Because now you say compound living, people automatically think cult. But
Right.
back in the day, grandmothers used to live. There's a reason in-law suites used to be a thing.
Well, not only that, but you used to have family compounds, like
Mm-hmm.
family farms and things like that. Like in like other nations, they would have houses all around each other,
Yeah,
villages that were the
all
family.
family. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's my goal. I want to live here. Want my mom and stepdad there. Want my sister and her family
Hmm.
there. all kids play together and eventually build houses on for them to move in with their
Mhm.
family and everybody,
And
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 having a petting zoo to bring in the funds to feed the animals that we're going to have.
it's honestly, it's not the hardest thing to do. But if you just trusting in what the government gives you, you're not trying to make your own, you're not gonna get there. Honestly, that's what it boils down to. They're not gonna let you get to a point where you don't need
Yeah,
them.
they don't want you to be self-sufficient.
Right.
It's to the point now where for centuries and centuries people knew how to grow their own crops
Right.
for their family. Now it's like, oh, I gotta YouTube this. I gotta figure out how to do that. I gotta find somebody who knows how to. And then they've got laws and stipulations, especially in inner cities, on what we can and can't have.
Mm.
I can't go get a fucking goat.
Right. Right.
What if I want goat's milk? I can't do that. I can't have a cow in my backyard.
Yeah. It's absolutely
I can't.
insane.
It's just so hard. Like that. Even that. I think the most I looked into that we could get is a chicken, but we can't get a rooster.
It's ridiculous.
They don't. They want us to be completely dependent on them, and that is not the way things have been for centuries. The 13-month calendar, like I said, we said change the seasons. So not only are we out of whack with nature, we've now become dependent on somebody other than biblically Yahweh.
Hmm.
So aren't we technically still idolizing somebody else, putting our faith all in that one person, hoping
Absolutely.
that they
Abs- a-
support us in some way, shape, or form? Via
Absolutely. I mean, there's people who look at these scientists and authors as gods, and whether they admit it or not. You know what I mean? Like I said, before, I think that science is just as important as faith.
yeah,
But I don't think that one is better than the other. I've never felt that way. I
no.
never will, because I was like, you can't tell me that one belief is stronger than the other when you need both. I was like, that's what a hypothesis is,
What I found on my spiritual
in my
journey
opinion.
too is because I love history. I'm obsessed with history and without changing history is what I mean. Unchanged history, not bending the narrative for everybody to be like, oh, look, we're innocent. And
Hmm.
that's like, no. I love history and I love science. They were my two high subjects through school.
Yeah.
And when I was going through the beginning part of my journey, I sat there and I was looking through biblical stuff, matching up with the best way for you to learn is to find something interesting, right? And the
Hmm.
quickest way to learn. So I was looking up historical events, weather-wise, like the River Jordan drying up,
Mm,
and then why that was so significant, and the fact that they said this in the Bible is going to happen.
yeah.
It's like, okay, that was one thing, but if you go along and correlate scientific and world events with what's going on in the Bible, everything is matching to the fact that we are in end times right now.
Hmm.
And there's no way to dispute that on whichever side you're leaning
Right.
because they're both showing the same answer.
Yeah.
We're screwed. I wouldn't say screwed. I think it's more of,
I think that what'll happen before we actually completely fuck the world up is the world will fight back.
mm,
I think that these storms and tornadoes and hurricanes, I
yeah.
think the world's fighting back. I think it's not going to go down without a fight,
Oh, yeah.
and we're not going to win that fight
No.
if we try to fight the planet. And so I just think that those of us who actually do care, who actually do, we got to just keep on doing what we're doing to make sure that our little patches of the world are cultivated properly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's what's important. Like, it doesn't take a lot to fix what has been broken. It just has to be a conscious effort.
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
we need to figure out where the Romans threw us off the calendar because
I agree.
imagine trying to figure out where the 13-month actually realistically, because we could say, okay, well, now it's the first, so we'll start it now. That's still not the correct day. That's just the day you said was the day.
Yep. Yeah. Like, we don't know when actually April 1st is,
Yeah.
because it's been years upon years of, you know, of the wrong thing. And every time, these added days and stuff, it pushes us further and
Do you know
further
what I
off.
just realized?
What?
Going back to the Bible, how we think everybody died so young.
Hmm.
What if they didn't die that young? It's just we're giving ourselves an older date because we go by 12 months. They go by 13.
Potentially.
So it's like they say that a lot of people died in like their early 30s and they were technically grandparents a lot of time in the early 30s.
Yeah.
What if that they were technically really, if we're going by the now calendar, what if when they became grandparents, they were in their late 50s, 60s, but because they have that extra month.
Yeah.
Sorry, my
No, no,
brain's
that makes a
working.
lot of sense. I mean, but also consider that even with that calendar, there are people in the Bible who lived to be hundreds of years old
Mhm.
at one point.
Have you read the Book of Enoch yet?
I haven't read the Book of Enoch. I've heard about it, but I don't have the Apocrypha or anything.
My recommendation is I don't like the King James.
Oh no, I don't. I don't mess with
Mainly
King
because he
James.
never got the full translation when he put it out there because he was taking the Vatican were giving him parts at a time
Hmm.
to have translated, and then because he was being fucking egotistic as
Yeah, he was
usual.
changing things.
Yeah, and so they stopped giving him the book, so he did the rest off of memory and
Hmm.
his own perceptions.
Right.
But the most I because I like to know the stories in order, how it started. The
Hmm.
book of Adam and Eve is not in the Bible.
Hmm.
Enoch's not in the Bible. I think there's a lot missing. But the Ethiopian Bible has all the chapters in
Oh, does it?
it.
Oh wow,
Because that's why the first church was built, Ethiopia.
I didn't know
That's why
that.
Christianity,
The
the
African.
term Christianity was in Ethiopia.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I think that's why a lot of the like slaves that came over here, they had their religion,
Hmm.
and God, and then as we got you know more accustomed to how the slave owners and stuff was also serving God, you're like, it's not the same God, you
No.
know, or but that's the reasoning everybody goes to, is it's not the same God. But I was like, give more credit to the people that are actually doing the cruel things, because they are justifying their things by manipulating what God said. I was like,
And people like to use that to justify how sickly, inhumane they're treating other people.
right,
We have no dominion over a human life.
at all, at all. And that's, I wish we would accept that.
Yeah,
Because that's
yeah.
one of the biggest
The problem
things.
is there's too much money in war.
Yeah.
And without people arguing with each other, there's no war, right? It's
Hmm.
like somebody asked me, I know this is a touchy subject, on where I would stand with Gaza and Palestine.
Hmm.
My answer to that was I am on the side with the innocent people that lost their lives that had no say in whether this war was going to happen
Right. On both
on
sides.
both sides.
Exactly.
Innocent lives were lost on both sides.
Exactly.
There's no way children, people, anybody innocent is inhumane. The only people that should be at fault are the people that chose war.
Right. And I was like, those are people in suits in government buildings.
That
I was like,
never stand
even the
behind a gun on the
soldiers,
front line.
yeah, even the soldiers are sent to those things
Yeah,
by people who are never going to see a battlefield
yeah,
ever. And so it's like we continue to create these divisions without blaming the actual people
yeah.
who are involved and who are causing the problems. Yeah, I was like, this whole thing where people are like talking shit about Israel and all of that stuff. I'm like, dude,
My heart breaks for everybody.
yeah, it's like, on it's like one, this conflict has been going on since the Bible days.
Yeah,
I was like, so don't act like all of a sudden
it's
you
brand
just,
new.
yeah, you just know everything that's going on and you're just a expert on their conflict. I was like, I'm sure that there's been terrible things on both sides. I was like, what we're seeing is cruel, but that doesn't change the fact that there's been cruelty on both sides.
On both
It's
sides.
been cruelty on
And
both
no matter
sides.
what religion you faith, every religion on this earth would not consent to the innocent lives that were lost of those poor children.
Right, right. No one like there are just cruel people in
And they're
this
trying
world.
to weaponize religion.
They're
And
trying
that's where things,
they're
and
trying to
people,
weaponize religion, they're trying to
mhm,
weaponize love, patriotism,
gender,
gender.
everything.
Everything that can be an argument point is literally becoming one.
Yeah,
And it's because people have nothing better to care about than identity politics.
yeah,
And it just it's ridiculous. Like this idea that there are people who don't deserve as much as other people is the reason we have every problem we have,
yeah.
you know?
I could never be a person sitting behind a desk and be like, oh, well, just bomb these people just because I don't know them. Because in my head, I would constantly be physically sick with the fact that those are human lives.
Right,
Whether they agree with me or not, unless someone's got a gun to me or my kid's head, I'm not going to pull no trigger.
right,
Unless, because obviously, if you hurt me, that hurts my kids.
right.
So unless that is affected, no. And the problem is, there's no money and peace.
Hmm.
And maybe we should find a way to have money and peace, because otherwise, we are literally going to be our own extinction.
Yeah. And I think that when we talk about the end times, I don't think that it's the world. I think it's humanity.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think that and I don't think that it's even all of humanity. I think it's our structure is what it's going to change. I think that where we've dealt with empires falling,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that the entire world is one big empire.
Yeah.
And I think that all of it's going to fall. You know, I was like, what the best thing that happened with COVID is that it showed people how much we don't need to be reliant on
Yeah.
people on the people in power because they don't have our best interests at heart, and all of this is a facade.
Yeah.
This really feels like, and
Is that we're living in a simulation.
I really feel like that. It's
A lot of times I feel like literally like with The Sims.
yeah, literally like the way stuff happens, like almost back to back,
Hmm.
is crazy. But that's because it's always happening. All this stuff is always happening. We just
And
hear about it.
everybody's always like, poor me, da da da, if there
Hmm.
was a God, da da da. But again, going back, this would be a great analogy, Sims. Okay. Now, when the whole tree issue happened, we
Hmm.
got given free will, right?
Right.
He is there with you the whole time. He never goes away.
Hmm.
But it's your choice to listen to him,
Right.
right? So I play The Sims. That's my guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
I forgot to pause it one day. I had like, I'm now down to like me and my sister in competition to see how many generations we can go down.
Hmm.
And I accidentally fucked up and made third cousins marry each other. Whole drama. I was very upset about it. But I left my Sims for it was supposed to be I was just gonna go to the bathroom, but ADHD, I was like, okay, went to the bathroom, went to tend to my son, started cooking, came back. The man had cheated on his wife with the maid and got the maid pregnant.
What the hell?
So that was free will mode.
Hmm.
I didn't tell him to do that. They were happily married.
Right.
They were always like flirting with each other, even if I wasn't pressing anything. Like they were
Hmm.
very happily married. But I went with my computer for an hour and he cheated on his wife with the maid and got the maid pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how God is looking to us like, why did you do this? You
Right.
just destroyed your whole life for no reason.
Right.
She's gonna take all the money because I'm not using any cheat codes. I'm trying to do I've made them millionaires without using the cheat code, and it took a long time to do so.
Hmm.
So now you're leaving the house
Right.
because this
Absolutely.
is family money. You married into the family. Go away.
There you go.
So that's probably how God looks to us. Like
Yeah.
I said, the toddler theory about constantly putting your hand in the fire and expecting a different result, which is
Hmm.
basically a state of insanity.
Absolutely.
But it is absolutely. I think we pretty much covered it, everything that we did talk about,
There you go.
other than the fact, like the moon cycles, causing anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues.
Yeah, and I was saying that before, with like, if there's so many benefits to knowing what the actual calendar is supposed to be. That is a it's something to consider. I think that no matter what our calendar says, you should have an idea of what that calendar is going off of. Because I think that it would help with understanding the moon
Yeah,
phases and how it's affecting you. Like I said before, like, we are living in a world that was created to work in tandem.
yeah.
Everything.
Like the
S-
fun fact that I told you about the fact that the outside of the turtle shell was 28 and the inside was 13.
Wow, that's
Well,
incredible.
that shows that we're tied to nature.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's literal, like, fruits and vegetables that are shaped like the parts of the body they affect.
I heard one thing, I don't know how true it is, I'm going to test it when I get my little garden thing, that
Hmm.
if you take, like, for instance, let's say you take an orange seed and you
Hmm.
put it in your mouth as saliva and then bury it.
Hmm.
When it's growing, it will produce what your body is lacking. Like, let's say you're
Whoa.
severely deficient in, obviously vitamin C comes from it. Obviously, this has to be a non-chemical. It's got to be like an organic one.
Yeah.
Um, but I heard, I'm going to test the theory, but um, that it grows a certain chemical in your body that that plant can produce. It'll produce more of it because it's picked up your DNA.
Wow.
And it was proven scientifically sucking on your seeds or putting saliva on your seeds before you plant it, the plant will grow unique type of abilities just to aid what you need and what you missing in your body. Man, I'm not playing. I am not playing, man. For instance, I was reading this book, right? I can't think of the book right now. When I find it, I promise you, I will let y'all know what it is. But it was talking about a book where uh before people planted their seeds, they sucked on the seeds. Now, B, I ain't tell you about this. I want you to come listen to this. So before people ate their seeds, they sucked on them. And then after they sucked on their seeds, it went through a methylation process. Then they planted their seeds. And it was proven scientifically sucking on your seeds or putting saliva on your seeds before you plant it, the plant will grow unique type of abilities just to aid what you need and what you missing in your body. Man, I'm not playing. I am not playing. The book was talking about how it was started off as a myth because he was wondering it was folklore because all of the ancient people used to do it. And then once they started putting science behind it, they seen that the ancients or the elders used to actually suck on their seeds before they planted them. That way, when they planted them, when that seed sprung forth, it grew and it made unique changes due to the actual microbes and due to the actual micronutrients and phytonutrients and bioflavonoids to be available for you when you missing something. Ain't this deep, man? Man, when you really think about the human body, biological interactions, and its relationship to Earth, I don't know nothing that is so valuable, nothing that is so important, and something that is so sensual. It's kind of sensual when you think about it, because it's so intimate. Especially when you're sitting around at the dinner table and you bowing your heads and you speaking affirmations over your food. And then my favorite part before I eat is when I bless the hands of those who created the food. Like, bless the hands of this woman for putting this beautiful, colorful, unique plate together. May you bless her life. Let me not even use the word bless because it means be less. But may you give her prosperity. May you give her longevity. May you give her everything that she needs, or even if it's a him or a brother or sister that's coming. But it's usually a woe man that's coming to cook for me. Or I'm cooking myself. But like, my favorite part is smelling the food, bowing my head, saying the prayers, asking the creator to make sure that this food give me nutrients, make sure that it strengthen my bones, make sure that any weaknesses within inside of my deoxyribonucleic acid is strengthened, make sure any minerals I'm missing, it replaces those minerals. And then I immediately go into affirmations and gratitude towards the hands that made the food. Just like we should be praying for farmers. How many of y'all don't pray for the farmers? Without the farmers, there would be no food because half of us don't even grow the food. You see what I'm saying? Just think about things like that. Think about that. Just think about if, like, literally, I just thank God for people, family. I do. I thank God for people and that choose to take their job serious and be vigilant with it. Because without that, I mean, there won't be no us. So it's just a beautiful thing, family.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I had no idea that that was a thing.
I didn't know it was a thing, but when I looked it up and it's scientific list, but guess what? We're not taught this stuff because
Mm-mm.
we wouldn't need doctors.
Right.
And our body also has ways to self. Do you want me to tell you a really gross fact
Mm.
that your body can heal?
What?
And this was old school, like country lady told me this, and she was like in her 80s back then. No, she wasn't. She was 75, but she was still working because her husband died, and she had to. She was helping me lift a grown ass fucking man by my together. Lovely woman, very strong will. Don't get me wrong. She's like Medea personality,
Mhm.
and whenever I would get sick, I would always get not just one fever blister. I would get like 5 or 6 in a cluster to the point where my lip would be like this, and I don't know how I got it. It's just ever since I was a baby,
Mhm.
whenever I'd get a fever, that would happen.
Mhm.
And I would try all these, like, different cold sore solutions and everything. Never had, again, this is a gross fact about me because luckily I haven't had to do it in years and years and years since I started doing this. I haven't had one in about, shit, since Chloe was about 5.
Mhm.
And I used to get one every year.
Mhm.
Earwax.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that. But you think it's gross, but I was like, I got to a point because at first I was like brushing her off, like, yeah,
Mhm.
no, that's gross. Um, but I tried so many solutions and it just hurt so bad, and it
Mhm.
was cracked and it was bleeding and it wasn't healing.
Mhm.
That I tried it, and the next day it like went down to like one little thing, and by that evening you couldn't even tell I had one.
Oh wow. That's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
earwax.
Yeah.
And I'd never thought about doing it, but I tell you damn well, if I do get another cold sore, and like I said, I had one every year, and I haven't had one since. I think I had one the following year, and it was nowhere near as bad, and then I never got it again after.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had no idea.
your own body, because even though like when we get cut open, people look at scars and like, oh, it's a scar, like, oh, that looked like it was so painful, but it's actually really beautiful because it's your body healing itself,
Exactly.
and scars are stronger tissue than the original tissue.
Absolutely.
So that goes to show you trauma can make you stronger if you heal.
Yeah.
Now, if you sit in the trauma, if you heal from the trauma.
Yeah, you gotta allow yourself the space to heal.
hmm
You know?
And like we discussed earlier, it's like you gotta feel the trauma, feel
Yeah.
the storm, but make sure you're not sitting in the storm and you gotta walk through the other side.
Yeah, you have to constantly be moving
hmm
towards a solution.
Yeah,
And once you do that, yeah,
you cannot be complacent, that's for
yeah,
sure.
you're gonna look and you're gonna realize just how far you got from where you were.
Yeah,
But it's a matter of like kind of like the tricking your mind, to really just get into the routine for a while.
yeah.
And then from there you
Takes
can.
3 months to form a habit.
Yep, absolutely. It's crazy.
And with having ADHD, because I am all over the place, I thrive on structure. Even right now, while I'm not working, I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, I have to do this by this time.
Right,
And because if I don't, I go AWOL.
right.
Like, I'm like, oh, and then my phone ends up in the freezer because I forget where it is and don't know why I put it in the freezer. But here we go.
I've been there.
But yeah, I've also The best way I could describe me is I'm chaos inside the lines. Let me be creative in the lines, but I will stay inside that structured line.
Yeah. Well, sometimes giving yourself that structure allows you space to be creative
Hmm.
in a way that you wouldn't be if you just have a completely blank slate.
Well, even doing this, like I've literally taught myself from nothing
Hmm.
on how to edit. Been
Yeah.
to no classes or anything. So even though some people are like, oh, this isn't great quality, it's great for what I've taught myself, and I am slowly improving. Subscribe so I can make more money to get better programs. Stop
There you go.
complaining. Be
Make
part
sure.
of the problem. Be part of the solution, not the problem. Well, thank you so much for watching, guys. I will put all of his handles below. Join us next week for another episode here at Grab Your Brew. I will be trying to put out more content, but as of right now, it is Mondays, and any additional is a blessing. But I hope you guys have a happy Easter.
Have a good one, guys.
Like and subscribe.